All right, I'm here with Katie Sue. She's SVP, Head of Growth Marketing at HBOMax. I am absolutely thrilled to be with Katie today. She's also a graduate of San Francisco State in my own home department of Broadcasting and Electronic Communication Arts at San Francisco State. Thank you so much for being with us, Katie. I'm going to dive right in. I know you've been working super hard on the launch of HBO Max. So walk me through your digital strategy to gain adoption among Gen Z, younger people, my students, right? People who might be watching this who are maybe like 18 to 24-ish. Why should they care about HBO Max, and how do you want to reach them?
That's a really great question. First of all, thank you for having me. For those who are watching who don't know, Dina taught me, so you're in really good hands. I am very grateful to be back here and being able to share my journey with you. For me, I think when I set out to help launch HBO Max, one of the first few things that I wanted to address was primarily who was the core audience, how do we marry art and science, and then how do we think about it more strategically beyond traditional entertainment companies? And I think when you think about HBO, you really have access to this plethora of premium programming, amazing shows. I mean, Game of Thrones, culturally relevant, of the zeitgeist. But the piece that was really missing for me when we were thinking about building HBO Max was, well, how are we expanding that reach? How are we actually reaching audiences who are younger, who, predominantly female, or maybe looking for different types of content beyond that premium HBO tier. And so a lot of it was a combination of programming. So really a brand new slate, really, really great programming to launch the service, but also a complete redo of how we market. And so I say that because when I joined the business, the structure of marketing was a bit more traditional. And it wasn't bad, it was just much more traditional in the sense of marketing and content marketing and, a lens of, go broad. And what I had said was, well, how about we apply agile methodology and the principles of that, build and test and learn muscles, think about a community's first approach and how you would reach people through a very authentic way of creating content and narrative. And then through that, bring people in to just discover stories, characters, and shows that they would fall in love with. And I think that part about falling in love with the shows is important, because what you're really trying to do is captivate any audience, whatever age, from an emotional level. And the content speaks for itself. But if people don't discover the content, they're never really going to be able to understand why it's important to them and why they should watch it. So to answer your question more specifically, how we went after them, I would have to just talk about the communities oriented approach, which is applying a very specific lens of focusing on underrepresented audiences, multicultural diversity in our programming and our marketing, and ensuring that the creative we make spoke to those audiences and that the marketing campaigns we ran spoke to those audiences. And this is a very important point, because especially as each of you are considering your careers, to me and leaders like myself, we believe that marketing is a revenue center, not a cost center, which means everything that you do, you are investing in the customer. And in order to do that, you also have to invest in your team. And that team creates the culture that enables innovation and productivity and also creative to occur. And so when I think about a communities-oriented approach, I don't think about people who've done multicultural marketing before. I think about people who have lived those experiences, understand the nature of the storytelling and the authenticity that those communities are seeking. And we just create content, creative, and stories that gravitate towards them.
So before I get to my hiring the interns question, because you did good, like this was the big disruptive move that you did. You hired the interns, like, whoa. I do want to acknowledge that college students are broke, right? This is not a wealthy demographic. And I just want to let people know who may not know that HBO Max does have an EDU subscription. And so when you talk about community inspired marketing and the approach, you really do have to take into consideration that there's a cost, right? With younger people, either they're going to be on their parents' HBO, or they're going to figure out a way to do it, or they're going to bootleg it or something. But I think it's really cool of HBO Max to offer that.
Yeah, I think that's actually a big part of how we think about reaching, younger audiences. So much of what we do is focused on discovery. I mean, the most important thing, at least for us, is how do we introduce new content, new stories, and new shows to people who may not have otherwise discovered them? I think there are a lot of great programs recently that have launched that would really speak well to a college student, especially as they are venturing into the workforce, applying for jobs for the first time. I won't name all of them because it wouldn't be fair, because there's so many that I think are great. But that's actually one of the reasons why I love HBO Max. As a fellow student of San Francisco State, I would say that of all of the places I've been at, our programming is unique. It is truly one of the few places that does actually market to everyone. And I do think that I've been able to enjoy a lot of the shows that are made by our incredibly talented programming team, because they're made to speak to different audiences: students, parents, millennial families, single parents, single dads. Like, there's so many ways to slice that. And I think that's a really beautiful thing about modern marketing.
Yes, absolutely. Modern marketing, I definitely want to delve into that. So you guys decided that you need to get into TikTok, and you somehow convinced the higher ups to say, look, we really need to be authentic about this. And so we are going to put out a JD, a job description, that is unlike any other. And we're going to ask people to submit their TikTok videos, or a TikTok video, I guess, to speak to how they would market HBO Max. And you ended up with 5 amazing interns who helped you guys build your presence on TikTok. Can you talk a little bit about that, and in the with the lens of like how a student that is dabbling in TikTok could actually, they could get paid to do that if they were doing it strategically?
Yeah, I think, as many leaders in marketing, I personally really love to give just creators opportunities to create great stories. And so when this opportunity to come up and we knew that we wanted to enter TikTok, you could already see that there were so many fans speaking about the content, making creative naturally and on their own. I knew that there was just a way for us to harness that community and in a very authentic way, just lean in and say, well, here are some interesting topics that you can congregate around and share in your experiences. And also, share with each other. And, we had this idea of hiring interns to run our TikTok, because I don't think resizing a video that you were going to be promoting on any other platform and dropping on TikTok would make sense. I personally love TikTok myself. And, it's just a different vibe. It's a different language. It's a different tone. And I love the content we make. And so the only way to really do it justice is to have it be made by people who understand the community, but also authentically like the shows themselves. And so we set this JD up. Our chairman, tweeted it, super supportive. And we ended up getting a ton of submissions, hundreds and hundreds of submissions. And it was probably one of the most fun experiences I had, just going through all the submissions with our recruiting team. And our recruiting team had never done anything like that before. I mean, they'd never seen a JD like that before either. And so all of us kind of went in going, this is the right thing for the business. This is the right thing for us to do. And it's new. It hasn't been done before. And we shouldn't let that fear guide us. We should actually be embracing the opportunity to do something like this. And we ended up finding 5 incredible interns who I absolutely love and adore. If you all get a chance, please check out HBOMax's TikTok handle, but follow them because they're so talented on their own. And you just don't even think most of the stuff they release are made to promote HBO Max. As a matter of fact, if you go into the comments, you actually see comments of, whoa, I didn't realize that was made by HBO Max. and they're so funny. They're so well made. There's so much thought that goes into it. And I recognize this is not normal because, for example, early days when we were just launching the channel, there would be conversations about like, what types of priorities we should do, what types of shows, movies, content we should be featuring. And I think myself, including my leadership team who oversaw this, who were incredible social marketers themselves, basically said, no, like let them choose what they want to market. Let them choose the titles that they think are important to them and let them make the content and have the freedom to create. And so my encouragement to everyone who is making content, spending time on TikTok, or even any emerging platform, I think that there is always an avenue to make that into a career. I think the world as it is today is so different than it used to be, at least when I went to college. Not that that was that long ago, because I don't want to give that away. But, it's, you can make a career out of anything. It just matters that somebody did it first. And so now that there are 5 interns who have run the brand handle for HBOMax authentically and beautifully, I don't think it's out of the question that there will be companies who will want to pursue the same thing. And if not, just make great content. See what happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's take a moment because we're almost out of time to talk to faculty for a second who may be teaching, all right, how do you market a platform? How do you market your content? Let's pretend for a second that we have a streaming platform that was either aggregating all the content that SF State produces, or maybe we have a platform that aggregates all of the cool, interesting content created throughout the CSU, right? And we want to market that content. Do we buy a billboard on the freeway like they did? Like the dinosaurs did? Like, I'm just so curious how marketing strategies have evolved in the pandemic, or pandemic or not, like how have things just totally, not how they've changed, but more like, okay, how would I teach an entertainment marketing class in fall of 2021?
Mm-hmm. This is a really good question. And I know this one's near and dear to me because I went through the same curriculum. I think marketing has evolved. I mean, it's just not the same thing as it used to be. I think there are 3 focus areas. The first is really understanding technology. And when I say technology, it's the agile principles of technology, which is moving and operating at the pace of culture so that maybe perhaps one day you can move and drive culture yourself. To do that, you actually have to learn a lot of technical expertise and skill sets and things that may not naturally fit into marketing in that way. But being somebody who's built some of this in the past, without that capability or the agile principles, you can't get to testing. You can't get the test and learn strategies in place, build the learning frameworks you need to do. And that can't inform what you ultimately decide is your strategy. And so I think that's probably first and foremost a foundational element. And that is just a technologically savvy approach to being able to do marketing today. Now, creative isn't just about creating content anymore. Creative is about looking at patterns and signals and culturally relevant moments and creating something that makes that magic happen. And it happens at the right time, at the right place, with the right people, and it happens more frequently than it used to. A long time ago, you would think about this idea of going viral. Today, it's not really about going viral. It's about being viral in an audience that matters to you. That's what makes TikTok so special, is because I go deep in plant TikTok. Now I'm gonna lie about it. I love plant TikTok. Like I garden, I look at all the tips, like how to save all my succulents. But that's a community for me. I feel very seen. I feel very heard. I ask a lot of questions. I've connected with people. And that's a big part of belonging. And so when you think about making creative and you think about marketing creative, you are really leaning into that sense of belonging and culture and relevance. And not in like, oh, I'm going to make a spot and a sizzle and it's going to be powerful and arresting. Most people, when you scroll, if it doesn't catch you in the first couple of seconds, you're out. You're not going to wait for the full, 4 minutes or plus of something unless it's really compelling. And so you're really also optimizing for a completely evolved audience. And so that brings me to my last point, which is data-led, creatively informed, performance, revenue-driven marketing. Marketing in the past used to be a cost center. You buy billboards, you do all these things, and you don't really know if it makes money, right? You just think that you're building a brand and the awareness is there. Well, a long time ago, there was a little company, and most of you may not even know, that I helped launch, which was Dollar Shave Club. And it started with a very viral video, and it was the perfect intersection of brand and performance, because the brand was so compelling and so clear in that, and the tone of the video was so clear that people knew what they were signing up for. They were signing up to be a part of a community, to be a part of something bigger than just buying razors. I mean, look at me, I didn't think I was selling razors. But I think that's the most important thing, is marketing today is storytelling. And it's the combination of art and science and the principles of product that bring it all together. So how do you teach that and you prepare students to emerge in a marketplace where that is something that they're actually well equipped for? I think that's probably the most important thing. It's not something you can learn from a textbook a lot of times. A lot of it is applied. A lot of it is critical thinking. A lot of it is looking at data and patterns differently. And then it's also just the creative technology part of it. So I would encourage everyone who's thinking about marketing as a career to not look at marketing as a linear category. It's very different than it was before. And it's all digital. And the last part I will say to this is, being an audience member myself, being a consumer and a customer myself, we live in a world where everything has changed. We also are coming out of a global pandemic. There are actual global implications of consumer behaviors and changes in our purchase consideration, things we look for, things we want, things that are important to us. All of that has shifted. Now, maybe not 100% across every audience, but certainly for a lot of people who are seeking comfort or wanting to emerge on the other side of, like, it's the roaring 20s, you have to be able to understand that behavior too, and take all of what we just talked about and reach them. And if you reach them in a way that matters to them, they just become a part of your story and a customer for the long term. So you're not just selling one product, you're selling a belief, and you're selling that belief because you can do it by applying all three of those principles in place.
Katie Sue, thank you so much for being with us today. Everybody should go check out HBOMax, right? They've got a broke college student subscription. Just do it. All right. Katie's behind it, so it's got to be great. Thank you so, so much for joining us today. We are so grateful for your time, your insight, and your advice. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me. And for all of you, if I may just offer one sentence of encouragement. If you don't see the job that you're looking for, go make it. Go find the company, go find the leader that's going to allow you to play in that box, because that's the thing that I learned in my career. What is predefined is not always reality. I think what you bring to the table, especially of this generation, is so much more valuable. So do not discount that. That is your greatest selling point. That's your strength. That's your advantage. That should be what you market. So thank you. Thank you for having me.